I'm Chief Meteorologist Mark Weinberg. He is Meteorologist Rick DeLuca, and we got some rumblings about severe weather potential about a day ago. The Storms Prediction Center put out a risk for our area. In transparency, this is not one we show on TV, but we felt like with that kind of getting out there on day 3, it made sense to do a live video so that we can discuss this. Our philosophy at WDRB, Rick, when it comes to severe weather, snow is not to be the first. And I think that is, you see this in a lot of the things we do. And I think if Storms Prediction Center had not put that out on day 3, we probably wouldn't even be talking about this.
No, and it's unfortunate because I feel like we don't want that false alarm rate to go up. And that's really our ultimate goal, is to make sure when we say something's going to be severe, bad, and I hate the word bad because it's such a loose term, but if we say you should pay attention, we want you to listen. So if we say pay attention, watch out, there's strong storms every single day, then at some point you're not going to listen.
So we felt like it made sense to do a live here tonight. Number one, as you're joining in, if you're on our YouTube page, we appreciate you joining us. If you're on our Facebook pages, thank you for joining us. If you guys enjoy these videos, I'm looking down at my phone. Let's see some thumbs up and some hearts if you guys do appreciate them. And most importantly, share the video. We've got 300 people in here right now. If you share the video, let's just say you have 100 people following you, then 30,000 people are going to be alerted that we're discussing whether strong storms are going to be in play here for Thursday. Again, Storms Prediction Center yesterday had a risk for our area, and that's what we wanted to discuss in this video. So please make sure you share it, get it out with your friends and family, and we'll jump into the discussion here. So Rick, we get storm systems coming through this time of the year quite frequently. In fact, November, December, and January, even February are cold times of the year. Historically speaking, we normally get extensive cloud cover ahead of these storms. We normally have rain ahead of the storms, and normally you end up with a lot of wind energy, and this is the norm. And I think when we start to look at storms, you've worked with me for a long time now, you have to come up with a convincing argument as to why the storm is going to be different than the norm.
Yeah.
And if you try to do that with this one today or yesterday, you couldn't come up with a reason why it would break the rule and be able to generate widespread severe.
I like that. Break the rule. That's really the key to all this, is because they usually don't. So if you can find a justification as to what's different, is there prefrontal rain? Is there, going to be some sunshine, maybe for a little instability? Those are the variables we watch out for. But you're right. The typical scenario is there's just so many clouds this time of year. We don't get the instability, the fuel to generate. The atmosphere is not juiced up, and we end up with just some gusty downpours. And that's the norm.
You have to make a case as to why this is going to be different. If you're going to argue for severe weather in the Ohio Valley in this particular scenario, you've got to be able to make that case. So what we're going to start off with here is the Storms Prediction Center risk for Thursday.
You see what I'm seeing?
I mean, it looks like crickets to me. I mean, literally, there's nothing there, right? I mean, they don't have a severe risk. Well, I mean, they had it yesterday. They had it this morning. They don't have it now. This is the problem. So we all know that predictability on low-end events is just not great in the medium range. So as a result, generally on lower events, we don't put and start to highlight risks until we get a lot closer. So the Storms Prediction Center, I feel, fell victim to trying to be first.
Yeah.
They put out the risk on day 3. They put it out the risk on day 2 early. And now as you look around our area, Rick, they yanked it. But that still doesn't put back in the barn the idea that there could be severe weather on Thursday, which is then the motivation to do this video. They opened the door. Let's go ahead and talk about whether the door should still be open or whether we should close that. So around our area right now, Rick, we just have a little bit of high clouds, and in fact, we're actually clearing out. But that storm system, you and I have looked at this storm system, this exact storm coming out of the Northern Plains a million times, and there are benchmarks that this type of storm has, and wind energy is one of them.
Absolutely. There was a severe thunderstorm warning in the Pacific Northwest for 80-mile-per-hour winds today, and they had a high wind warning yesterday in parts of Montana for gusts over 100 miles per hour. That was for a wind advisory, which is just crazy to even read some of the verbiage that was out in Montana yesterday. Is this the same storm? Yes, 100%. It is the same storm, but it's not going to be the same animal by the time it gets here. And there are other elements in play when it comes to this. Now, you see that low pressure. That's the one that's lining up. And we have been in this northwesterly pattern for so long now. It just seems like this has become how December has evolved. However, what's different is we don't have that cold to tap into, and that's why this storm's different. Mark, I know this is one thing you taught me, actually, but the downsloping. The downsloping is huge, and that's what's changed the entire game.
And so what Rick's referring to is if you look at the jet stream coming across the Rockies, it's from west to east. This may seem somewhat insignificant, but to sustain cold pushes into the OV, you must not have downsloping because this modifies the air and it cuts it off and leaves it in Canada.
Yep.
We had a pattern for 2 weeks that showed no downsloping, allowed that air to get tugged from Canada right down into our area. We have downsloping on this. So this storm is nothing unusual. One would expect this storm to have incredible wind energy, and we'll come back to this, but that's what we would expect as the norm. We'll look outside in Louisville right now. Temperature currently 47, dew point 33. Rick, we talk about fuel a lot. A temperature of 47 with a dew point of 33. Would this meet your criteria for what you look for fuel
47?
to support severe weather?
No, definitely not. 47, just way too chilly.
That's weird.
And dew points just, 30 is way too low. I'm looking at some of the hybrid, the 0Z NAM or HRRRs coming in, and I see dew points rising. Okay.
But are they getting to 60, Rick?
No. I'd say 55 is probably the highest one I see. Maybe even 53.
That's kind of weird. So we'll come back to that. As we look in E-Town, you're 46 with a dew point coming in at 36. That's weird. You're like, Mark, you taught me. You taught me that we need to have temperatures that are warm and dew points north of 65 to generate fuel so that we can get severe weather. You taught me that. Okay, thank you. I appreciate that you've learned that because you're becoming weather aware on this scenario. As we look around our area, Corridon's at 40 with a dew point of 33. And Rick,
I zoomed in on that one for you.
So the roads look good. The snow's gone.
But look at all that salt.
Oh yeah, there is a lot of
You can
salt.
it's white.
Did you notice? Like I saw an 18-wheeler today going down the highway, and it looked like the Peanuts character behind it. Where
it's just like you're just getting trapped.
It was literally like it looked like it was snowing salt behind the 18-wheeler.
And you're like, that's when you're like, all right, I'm gonna stay
way back,
far back.
Those chunks will tear up the car. But you know, we have salt on the road. What we don't have here are high dew points, and we don't have warm temperatures. So I mean, look, I mean, maybe it's out there. Maybe we're just not seeing it yet in our area. I mean, it's fair. It's just not in our area yet. I mean, Louisville's running 47 degrees, and wait a minute. Little Rock's only 2 degrees warmer. Nashville's a couple degrees warmer. There's nothing out there that's showing warm temperatures. So I mean, something's going. Maybe Rick. You can still generate fuel, Rick, even without super warm temperatures if you have crazy high dew points. And as you look around the region, Rick, I'm not seeing that.
No. Brown's a no-go. Okay. They've made it into Houston.
That's low 60s. That's still not 60. I mean, you got to go past Corpus Christi to get a dew point of 65.
And that's a long ways away.
I mean,
can you transport that here? That's the ultimate question.
I mean, we could do the math on how fast the winds would have to be from it to go to Corpus Christi here. You know what? Because I'm a weirdo, I'm actually going to see if I can do that math real quick and see the distance from Corpus Christi to Louisville just so that we can have a measure. Let me see if I can get this on here real quick. I'm going to go ahead because again, I've got a weather system. See if I can get the measure tool up here. Let me see. I don't know if my eyes are good enough to actually see the measure. I don't think I've got it on there. You see it? I don't see it. I messed it up probably. Oh, there it is. That's it right there, isn't it? Measuring tool. Yeah. Okay, so let's okay that. Where are you, little buddy? All right, I can't do it. In a short thing here, I don't know exactly where my friend is. Let me try to add it and see if that works. Now I'm going to try it a different way. What I'm basically trying to do is measure the distance. There it is.
Got it?
So I do have the measure tool. From Corpus Christi towards Louisville, I'm going to have to go in the other direction because that's not going to work out so well. So I'm going to come from our area and go down to Corpus Christi. Rick, that's about 900 miles. 900 miles, and it basically has 12 hours to get here. So 900 miles, 12 hours would be if we went 10 miles an hour for the next 12 hours. That would be 120 miles. So that would have to move basically at about 50 miles an hour. So we would have to have a southerly wind for the next 12 hours straight of 50 miles an hour to get the dew points here. I mean, Rick, that makes sense. That's going to get here, right?
Yeah.
It's not going to get here. So let's go through then the wind energy. I mean, this I don't know if you've seen this yet. The wind's 1,000 feet above the ground. I'm gonna let you talk about this one because we can speak to whether this is normal or not. So there you go, Rick. That's 1 p.m. tomorrow.
1 p.m. And I know if you're seeing this, you're like, wait a second. Thursday at 1 o'clock, I'm going to have winds of 66 miles per hour. You will, but it's a mile above the ground. 5,000 feet up there.
Nobody lives there.
Nobody lives there. But yeah, so this is what we, came here to talk about. The severe weather elements. Are they coming together? Wind energy, there are no ifs, ands, or buts about it. We have it, and it's in abundance. When you see winds 60 to 70 miles per hour in this jet that fires up, that's fierce wind. That would be enough to generate severe because we always look for 40. Yeah, easily. But it's not the only piece of the puzzle this time, Mark.
That's a very valid point, Rick. So if you're going to base a severe weather threat off wind energy, then you're probably going to have to issue a severe threat every single time we get a storm
For every
system
storm,
in the
pretty
fall
much.
and winter. Every time.
That would be insane.
Just like if you were to issue a severe weather risk based on fuel alone. Every time we got a thunderstorm in the summer, we have insane amounts of fuel, but it doesn't work that way. This is more complicated. We have to pair wind energy with fuel. So we know what we should see in the fuel department here. We've kind of talked about that. Let's go ahead and then we know we've established the fact that there's wind energy. Instability. Instability is fuel for thunderstorms. Rick, when we've had some of our benchmark events here, let's just use the day that Louisville got the EF3. We had, I think that day around 1,300 or 1,400 units of instability. March 2nd, 2012, which is really the benchmark, one of the benchmark events over the last 20 years in our area. We had about 2,000, 2,500 units of instability. Somerset, London, that day we had, in the southern part of Kentucky, somewhere around 2,500 units. December of 2021, we had about 2,000 to 2,500 units of instability in western Kentucky. These are some big days. So what would we need to see on a scenario like this? With that kind of wind energy, probably 400 units. So as we look at this, you'll notice in the top right part of your screen is the time. So we're looking, that's interesting. The data is showing at 5 p.m. 20. Okay, maybe it gets higher at 8. It's 20. Whoa, ho! At 11 o'clock, there's 60 units. There's 60 units. That's literally pocket change. That would be like you going to the store. You need $12 for a dozen of eggs. It's a joke, but it's not. And you only have a couple of pennies in your pocket. I mean, it peaks at 60 units. I mean, this is minuscule amounts of fuel. Now, Rick, maybe the data yesterday showed something different. You looked at the data yesterday. I mean, was it different?
No. We had the same scenario. And actually, and more importantly, that cape that generates, it's post front. It's not even with the front.
It doesn't make any sense. Okay, so then we're going to look at what we call supercell composites. This is the ability of the atmosphere to generate rotation. Maybe that's it, Rick. Maybe it's because there's so much directional wind that even with virtually no fuel, you can get some rotation. So let's take a look. There's 5 p.m. and it looks like goose eggs to me.
Let me see. I think maybe my eyes are broke.
Let's focus in a little bit better.
No, still 0.
Okay, let me try 8 o'clock, Rick. Maybe 10:30. Okay. So you get the concept here. When we talk about, before we go into the data, let's go through the norm. In fall, what normally happens is you get storms with massive amounts of wind energy. This is the way fall works because the jet stream is dropped further south because there's cold air in the North Pole pushing the jet further south. We know this. So the benchmark, the standard, the norm for a storm like this is to have crazy robust wind energy, extensive cloud cover, rain ahead of the front, which weakens the line, which doesn't produce severe weather in our area. That's the norm. So now we have a working model of what we think should happen. So let's take a look. It's 10 a.m. That's extensive cloud cover, Rick. That rain's breaking out ahead of the line.
Way ahead.
That would mean that should stabilize the atmosphere. I mean, that you're not going to generate. You've heard us say, if you see the sun, you need to be concerned. Right. I see clouds.
See a lot of clouds. And how you gotta.
I see some rain.
We're stabilizing what's already pretty much a stable atmosphere too.
It's in the 50s. But yeah, there's wind, but it's in the 50s.
It's cool.
And here's the other thing, Rick. The dew point cannot get higher than the air temperature, which means that the dew points are going to be capped at basically around 57 to 60 at most. And look at the line. There's the line as it's approaching us. Now, we said, what would we expect? Let me take you back to the prior. If you have rain preceding the line, if you have rain ahead of the line, one would expect that to stabilize the atmosphere and weaken things. There's the rain ahead of the line. Let's see if the data shows what meteorology dictates. It literally shows exactly what should happen.
Right.
Like, literally, this is what happens every time as these storms move towards us. It shows a stabilizing atmosphere. It shows what you and I like to call a fine line.
Yes.
These fine lines may have gusty winds of 40 miles an hour. 40 miles an hour is different than a storm that's going to knock down trees, knock out power to your house. It's going to do damage that may lift shingles. This is different. We're not saying that you can't get gusty winds. In fact, we think we will.
Yes.
But the question of this video was, do we think that there's going to be organized severe weather here? And not only do we premise this based on the science of meteorology, but we have the data that backs up exactly what we would expect to happen. It's not like we're chasing after the data and saying, well, this is what the computer models indicate. We're just going to show severe. No, we're putting the science together first. And then we're trying to see if the computer model is actually predicting what it should show.
Right.
I feel like that's like the lost art of what you and I do now is in the current world, and the YouTubers and these social meteorologists, they're posting weather model data all the time. That's not meteorology. That's not science. That's trash.
Yeah, and they're plucking the worst, anything that shows anything that's concerning, and then saying in all caps, it's about to get worse. It's going to be bad. We're going to have severe storms.
It's going to be bad.
And it just kind of makes me throw up in my mouth to see so many people doing the same song. And there's so many people like that out there.
And it's nonstop.
Right.
I posted yesterday about how these marginal risks of severe weather have become kind of the laughing stock. I think most people out there, like, if you ask us, if you say, Mark and Rick, is there going to be severe weather? And by the way, we'll go back to the data one more time. But if you're saying, Mark and Rick, is there going to be severe? And my answer to you is, well, I'm going to go ahead and give you 6 categories. You're going to be like, well, no, Mark, Rick, I asked you if there's going to be severe weather tomorrow. I didn't ask you to tell me 6 categories. The problem was several years ago, we segmented from a 3-system category. The 3-system category, some may argue, did not have enough resolution on the top side. And you know what? In that, I think you make a good point. But did we really need more resolution in the low end that really doesn't produce anything? Unfortunately, we added that.
Yeah.
And you know, someone said to me, well, you should tell the Storms Prediction Center how you feel. And I said, I have. So, you know, Rick and I, as professional meteorologists, we go to conferences, and the Storms Prediction Center, National Weather Service, all these guys are there. And we do raise our concerns about things. And this is the weather enterprise. So we do talk. We do. Just because we don't think that the marginal risk should exist doesn't mean that everybody is going to believe along the lines we are.
I mean, if you ask a normal person, general, you know, walking down the street, hey, how many severe risks are there? And you said 6, they'd be like, that seems excessive.
And here's the thing is you know, I'm going to tell you what we want. If I tell you there's something to be concerned about, let's just use your wife. I'm going to ask you an honest question right now. I'm really going to, and this is just going to, I didn't tell Rick what I was going to ask prior, and Rick knows it. Normally he's unprepared for the weird things I'm going to ask him.
I'm always unprepared.
So Rick, if there was a marginal risk of severe weather, would you tell Alicia?
No, absolutely not.
This is your family, Rick, and their safety. Why would you not tell her?
Because I don't think that it warrants her awareness or deserves her, train of thought. I basically, and if I did tell her that, I'd probably telling her that every other day. But it's just for me, I don't want her to worry on a day that she should.
So that's what this comes down to. This isn't about whether the Storms Prediction Center is right or wrong or the National Weather Service. Quite frankly, we don't really care necessarily. This is about the handshake agreement we have with you. And in that handshake agreement, you have said to me and Rick, when there's something to worry about, please tell me. And I hope that in return, when we tell you there's something to worry about, you realize that you need to be able to take action or be ready to take action.
And you realize too, it's like when we're telling you weather information on TV, if there's severe weather, I'm also texting her and telling her information. And there's times where I've texted her and saying, grab the kid, grab the dog, go down to the basement. And there's times that she'll listen. If I told her that more than 3 times, at some point she'd stop listening. But it's important for me to reserve that, warning for a time that's serious and that I actually want her to react. That's the whole key of this. And if I say that to her all the time, and even when we have tornado warnings around Louisville, she, since we can really pinpoint where the rotation is, she's like, listen, if it's nowhere near the house, don't bother. She's actually asking for more, which is a little too much. But I do agree in the fact that if you tell someone it's bad and there's going to be storms that you should be concerned every single day, she's just not going to listen to me, which she doesn't already. So,
and then she's going to go ask Alexa, which
don't start with this. She does. 6:20.
Mia's gotten really good at asking Alexa.
All of a sudden, songs start playing. She asked Alexa what time it is. I was like, you don't even know what time is. You have no concept of what time is, but
she must be here, Alicia, doing that.
She does hear it.
So let's go back one more time and go through this data, because in the end of this video is about awareness. We know that the awareness was lifted up when a severe risk was issued for our area yesterday. You can see the data shows, for your information, in the western part of our area between 3 and 5, in Louisville between 5 and 7, and exiting our area around 7. The data shows what we refer to as a fine line, which can have some gusty winds. Very rarely has lightning even in it. There's almost no fuel in our area, so we're not worried about any organized severe weather threat. And back to here, the damaging wind threat, the Storms Prediction Center had a concern yesterday. In their credit, they removed it at midday today, and I'll give them that. And then you can see the tornado risk they have at 0% for tomorrow as well.
There's a question that came in from...
And by the way, what we do want after we're done here is always go over to question. So we've gone through an analysis of this, and now we want to answer your questions about your house, about what you're concerned about. And if you have weather anxiety or anything like that, we'll answer those. Before we jump into that, let your friends know, family, by sharing, that they can jump in and they'll get into the Q&A part. Rick, you had a question.
Yeah, Jonathan just noted, he said, did we have any tornado risk yesterday from SPC?
Yeah, so on day 3, SPC does not put out tornado risk. On day 2 is when they start to add the probabilities of wind, tornado, hail, threats in there. On day 3, all they do it as is a straight up probability. So at that point, there was not necessarily a severe tornado risk on that one, or wind or tornado risk. But it's a good question.
And I'll take this one. This one's from Megan Rowe. She has a procedure to be done at 11:30 to 1 tomorrow in Louisville. How will the weather be tomorrow coming from Bullitt County to Louisville? It's going to be breezy. I can guarantee that. And with a southwesterly wind, if you're headed up 65, while it's not a true westerly wind, there's still going to be a little tug back and forth on your car because of that high profile. If you're in a, let's say, SUV or anything like big like that, you'll notice the swaying a little bit more. Tight grip on the steering wheel. Could be some scattered showers. It'll be windy with some pockets of rain, but you have nothing to worry about. So please just take it slow and have a safe drive, and hope your procedure goes well. But there's nothing to be concerned about weather-wise. I'm sure you got enough on your mind already. The weather's not going to be one of them.
So next question here is coming in. Somebody's saying, let's see here. If we have lightning and thunder, that can cause a lot of problems. And look, lightning and thunder, I think this is kind of when we sometimes get back to this scenario. Is it bad? I think that sometimes people feel like when it's lightning and thundering, that's really bad. And I'm not going to say it's not. I'm not going to say it is, but what I would say is we still have to distinguish between a storm that makes a lot of noise and one that will damage your property.
Right.
And the way that severe weather and we have defined this in our science is that if we're going to issue a warning, it has to be able to do damage. To that point, we used to issue warnings for smaller hail size. A couple of years ago, we realized that the smaller hail size was not doing damage. And that's not to say that some people don't feel anytime it's hailing that that's severe. But we know now that it has to be around quarter size. Quarter size hail or larger will trigger a warning. If it's dime size, it won't anymore. It used to. But we determined that that wouldn't cause damage to your property, your house. And so when we say severe, we just need you to know that what that means is a storm that can do damage to your property. Now, someone might say lightning can do damage, and that is true.
Yeah.
But we can't issue lightning warnings.
Right.
That's
And
just not the way we function.
To your point, Courtney just said she hates lightning. She lost her home to a lightning strike, and it gives her anxiety. And that's one of those cases where, yes, I completely sympathize with where you're coming from, your story, and your reason for that. And that,
And this is another good question, Rick, here. Caitlin Tyler is saying, will people be safe in mobile homes? And that's, you kind of sometimes don't realize that everybody is in a different space and a different time. Some may be getting a procedure. Some people may be going to school and wondering, am I going to pick up my kids during severe? Somebody may be in a home that has anchored roofs. Some may be in a manufactured home. So there's a lot of scenarios out there where people get more concerned when you even say severe risk. So to your question about in a mobile home, should you evacuate tomorrow? My answer is no. That's not to say it's not going to be windy, but I don't want to play that as a scenario for that. I just do feel that's part of what I really, when it comes down to all this, is you start to realize that if you say, let's say there could be strong or severe, and you're in a well-constructed, home with roof straps that's anchored to the foundation, it probably doesn't bother you. But if you're in a manufactured home, that is more concerning to you.
Yeah, and it is important to consider everyone's different situation because they're.
I got to read this one, Rick. This is going to make you happy.
Okay, let's hear it.
So this is, don't look.
I'm not looking.
One eye contact here. Heather just said, does anybody else think Rick looks like an Italian mobster?
Oh, no. Heather, I see it now.
You totally could be in one of those movies.
Listen, if I get a pinstripe suit on, sign me up for Goodfellas all day. But
oh, man. Any other questions here? What time is the rain going to start in Radcliffe? I would say anytime afternoon, the shower chance starts to come up. That line that we would watch, again, what we call a fine line, Rick, we're probably talking at that in Radcliffe. I'm going to say between 5 and 6:30.
Yeah.
So let's see here. I'll give this one to you, Rick. Sherry is asking in the Elizabethtown area time concerns.
I would once again say around 5 to 6:30. It's they're not very far apart. It's just a little bit further west, Radcliffe. So E-Town, I would say a very similar time frame. It's going to be a late afternoon, early evening sort of scenario, which around 5:20 the sun goes down, which means it's going to be very close to when the sun does start to set. And just prior to and after sunset is when that fine line will make it here in Louisville. That's really something I'll throw out there even before you ask. Louisville's around 6 o'clock.
Exactly.
Could be a little earlier.
Give it or take an hour.
Yeah, and give or take an hour. We like to kind of give or take, put a little pad in either side of that time frame just in case. But I like to give you just an average there. And Courtney's saying the same thing. What time for Simpsonville? And
similar to Louisville.
Similar to Louisville, maybe a half hour later at max. Yeah, yeah.
Margaret's saying, I just got on here. What's the weather going to be like on Westport Road in Chamberlain? And to what Rick just noted, Westport, Chamberlain, we think it's going to be in your area, probably around 6, give or take an hour or so. But if I was to throw a dart, I'd say between 5:30 and 6:30. Right now, could come with a burst of maybe some 40-mile-an-hour winds, maybe 45. Doesn't look like organized severe, and certainly doesn't meet criteria for organized severe weather in our area.
Mark, mind if I give this one to you?
Yes.
Because I know you. I like how you answer this one. Have you noticed that with past storms? Oh no, it went away. Have you noticed with past storms, Louisville has some more severe weather than locations like E-Town? Why is that?
So I love this question.
I know you do.
Because I've been here for 21 years now. So in the first about 10 or 12 years that I lived here, people would say Louisville is under a bubble. It is a dome, the dome of Louisville, they would say. They would say the dome of Louisville protects Louisville from severe weather. That's why Louisville never sees severe weather. I think if you've lived here in the last 5 years, you know the idea of a dome is rubbish. Louisville's been hit by so many tornadoes, including an EF3 that occurred this spring. I can't count a year in the last 5 where Louisville hasn't been hit by a tornado. And there's been several times, in particular, Valley Station, Shively, that area just continues to get hit by tornadoes after tornado after tornado. Years. I've heard people say tornadoes don't cross the Ohio River. We saw the Hanover tornado cross over to Madison, cross back over the river into Milton. That tornado crossed the Ohio River. I think it was 5 times total.
5 total?
We saw in 2012 the Henryville tornado that started in Pekin, Borden, moved through Henryville, came out near Marysville, crossed over the Ohio River as it got down towards around the Hanover area. We have seen this over and over. In fact, we had a tornado. It was either this year or last year that crossed over from New Albany into Louisville, and then we had one that crossed over from near New Middletown into Louisville. So this is what we would call variability. Sometimes Louisville gets hit, sometimes E-Town gets hit, sometimes Pekin gets hit, sometimes Munfordville gets hit, sometimes like this year Somerset and London get hit. This is the variability of how Mother Nature works. It does appear at times there are strike zones, but there is no rhyme or reason as to why that happens. It just is the random nature of severe, but it's a really good question. Question I'm going to give to you, Rick, here. Let's see. Do I have anything to worry about? This is from Tammy, asking out of Crothersville, Indiana.
Tammy, you don't. And unless you really hate getting drenched by some rain, that is the really only concern. Oh, and some gustier winds. We could see gusts 35, maybe 40 miles per hour. Nothing severe. Could see a strong storm, absolutely. Some winds 40, maybe 45-ish, but that's even stretching it. So I don't want you to worry. If you're going to be traveling, you can take it slow. If you're driving and the rain starts coming down, could visibility be bad? Yes. Those are things that are minute compared to what we're trying to answer, and that is, will we have severe weather? We're going to have tornadoes, hail over an inch, wind gust over 58 miles per hour. It's a no, it's a no, it's a no. And not only that, this rainfall is still looking about a ½ inch to an inch of rain from what I saw.
It does look like that still.
Which is not enough to cause any real flooding issues.
And that was the question.
If we had a huge snowpack and we got a bunch of rain, all that liquid inside the snow would have to go somewhere because it gets washed away. But the temperatures did the job for us slowly but surely throughout the week, which has eliminated any sort of real flooding concerns, which I'm also really happy about, because not often in fall do we get, rain like this that just has really no, actually we do, but really no general impacts when it comes to flooding, when it comes to severe. I like when we have just rain and we need storms. Yeah.
With the salt.
My car was black. I don't know what color. It's more of a white. It's like a cow now. It's got big areas.
Good looking cow.
It's a good looking cow. It gets me from point A to point B. So I don't even know how to follow that up.
So in terms of the rain's going to help out. This is a good rain. It's going to clear off the roads, wash your car afterwards. If you're asking me, I would probably let Friday dry out. The wind should work. And then if you want to wash maybe Friday evening, you get several days out of that car wash, get the salt off your car. Let's see. Another questioner coming in from Tiffany Thurston. Tiffany is asking, am I concerned about freezing early on Friday? This is a really good question, actually. So we know that it's going to be windy tomorrow. Traditionally speaking, the wind is going to really dry the roads off unless you get what we call a flash freeze, where the temperatures crash. I think that most of the work should be done by those winds and dry those roads off. However, Rick, a couple of slick spots are certainly possible with the temperatures that we'll get by Friday morning.
Yeah, but I like, you're right about that. That the wind being from the west so strong is going to act like a big, huge fan. What are the fans called that you use in your basement when you had
the high velocity fan?
High velocity fan. It's like a high velocity fan that's going to really help dry the roads out. And like you said, can't rule out a slick spot, but think of it like that. I just like to really sometimes take, just a common analogy applied to the weather, and like, oh, that makes sense.
Where did we get that? We tend to do that a little bit. We are the analogy people.
Yeah,
we definitely
I live for them.
So we got 3 more questions here. I'm going to throw this one to you because I know this is going to get asked, Rick, and I'm going to ask for a lot of people. Probability of white Christmas.
You're going to make me feel like the Grinch here?
I'm just saying so we can get it out there.
I know.
I asked the question because I know it's going to be asked.
Well, with temperatures in the 50s to around 60, what do you think? Historically, it's a 5 to 10% chance.
It doesn't happen.
But looking at actual data, there's no chance. Unless there's something dramatically that changed, some Christmas miracle, if you will.
It would have to be a miracle.
It would have to be a Christmas miracle. But it's just going to be way too warm. The pattern is completely different. It has flipped. 180. We
It
began the
has.
first half of the winter, I'm sorry, December with winter,
Right.
and now it's kind of backing off a little bit. Not only with
Like a big
the
way.
I mean, yeah, it's a big way. I mean, when you talk about 60s after what we went through, I was outside today, and people in the working the master control were just standing outside. I was like, I haven't seen you guys in forever.
I
Like,
know.
it's been too cold. We wouldn't want to stand out here.
So 2 more questions. I'm going to answer this one. Somebody asked, Courtney asked, is this warm weather going to last for a while, or is it a tease? So this is what we call mud season. So we've exited out of early winter, and now we've gone into mud season. Is it going to last for a while? Yes. When you look at the ensemble data, this, as Rick noted, is what we call 180. It's a pattern flip. So because it's a flip, we went from being extremely cold, 10.4 degrees below normal in the first 16 days of this month. Chew on that for a minute. Wow. 10.4 degrees below normal. If we were that cold and we flipped, then that means we're going to be way above normal now to end this month. The insanity of this is, if you look at the stats when this month comes to an end, they may end up near normal.
Right.
Because it's a total and true 180 flip. So I think this lasts at least until around New Year's, and beyond that, the data still shows that. So
and that's speaking to the power of extremes.
It is. And
when you average out close to normal, when you have that sort of warmth.
But then you look back, like, isn't that insanity though? Like, somebody would look at a month in climatology and be like, oh, you know, it was right. It was an exactly normal month.
Right. If you looked at just the month, but then you look at the days, you're like, maybe not. Maybe I spoke too soon.
So we got one last question here, Rick. I normally allow you to take the last question, so find a good one to ask it. I know somebody just said that we broke their heart on the no snow on Christmas. And Austin, that could be a good last question. You see that one?
Austin, could we hit 70 degrees on Christmas from Austin? I don't think. I think 70 is a stretch. 60s, perhaps. I haven't looked at enough to really.
Lot.
What are the 850 temperatures?
So the 850 temperature is around 8 or 9 in the ensembles of the GFS and the Euro.
Okay.
So that conceivably now we'd have to hit.
And that's Celsius, by the way, just so people know.
Oh, sorry. Yes. So to go into a true 70, you'd need to have full sunshine. You're not going to be able to make it there if you only have a little bit of sunshine. So the data is showing a somewhat active pattern with showers, with a warming trend occurring.
I see 66 from when you take out 8 to Fahrenheit.
So that would be, so it still seems like a stretch, but you know, mid 60s are not out of the realm of possibility.
Correct.
Before Christmas Day and a week before Christmas Day, Shelbyville is 2 below 0. Welcome to the Ohio Valley. By the way, we appreciate you guys joining us here on our Facebook Live. We did this video tonight. Rick and I kind of talked about it yesterday. Once that risk of severe was released, you can't put that away. It's kind of the same reason we don't forecast snow 7 days out.
Like once you say you can't take it back kind of thing.
Yeah, if I say the data's showing you could see 10 inches of snow 7 days out, now you get your hopes up. And then I take the rug and pull it out from under you 5 days out and say the data's completely changed. When it comes to severe, people start to prepare and get nervous. And once you say there's that severe threat and you pull the rug out, then it's hard to undo that. So we wanted to give you from our mouth, from directly our analysis, what you should expect.
It's also important too. You have people who are trying to travel. Either you're going out of town, you're coming into town. So let's say people, you know, you could watch the weather yesterday. If you saw it, you'd say, okay, there's a severe risk. And if you didn't have time or didn't think to check back in today, then you may still have that in the back of your mind thinking, all right, well, I got to let them know that we have the possibility for severe weather.
And we love these because we can reach right out to you.
Yeah, and just say that you don't got to, you know, it's fine. I have actually some family coming to town. So for me, I was concerned. I was like, okay, well, that flight's going to be super bumpy. I can promise you that.
It will be bumpy, that's for sure. But at the same time, it's something that they can navigate because it's not going to be severe weather.
Right, exactly. And that's why I was like, that's, you know, I had to let them know what they're coming into, because if I didn't, I mean, as a meteorologist, that would be pretty shameful.
So, again, we would watch in the evening tomorrow. Can we say a rogue severe is impossible? It's not impossible, but it's below every criteria that for any type of organized severe weather. And so we just wanted to get you that video. If you guys appreciate the Facebook Lives or the YouTube, if you're in YouTube, you can always comment down below. You can throw some thumbs up on our screen. I'm going to pull my phone out so I can see if you guys appreciate the Facebook Lives. I want to see some thumbs up and some hearts flying across the screen. And remember, even after the video ends, you can always share the video with your friends and family. We appreciate you guys in here tonight. If we have anything that changes tomorrow, I'll be on, I'm actually off tomorrow. So Rick DeLuca will be on air tomorrow if there's anything that concerns you with live updates there. And if there was necessary for a video tomorrow evening, Rick would be here. So if you don't follow Rick DeLuca, head over to his Facebook page, click like, and that way you get alerted. If you don't follow me, click like, that way you would get alerted. And we appreciate you guys in here. Rick, I'm going to be covering still on WDRB News at 10, so everybody here join us at 10. I'll be discussing at 10 o'clock, top of the hour, heading into that storm. So tonight we're going to see temperatures that are not near as cool. Tomorrow we'll talk about wind concerns, updated data on the timeline, whether anything's changed for that storm potential tomorrow. And then for me, one of the things I'm going to be spending time on is the medium range at 10:37, discussing temperatures in the longer range, how warm we are. 10 o'clock's not good for you. Rick at 10 o'clock will be, or 11 o'clock rather, top of the hour is going to be discussing. I'll let you say, what's your 11 o'clock topic?
Well, we're going to be going through the hour-by-hour outlook because I get new data in, and we both do right before the show. So there are little fine-tuning adjustments that we'll make to the exact timeline, if it speeds up, if it slows down. And then after that, how long is this cold going to stay? Because it does cool down.
It does get cold on Friday.
It does get cold Friday. If you're thinking, oh, well, we're back in this, cellar when it comes to temperatures, it's not going to be that way. So I'll talk about a quick warming trend. And if you're trying to finalize some weekend plans, maybe you have some Christmas shopping that you've been pushing off, procrastinating, you had not get done. Oh, you're on that list?
Yes.
He says with a sigh. Well, then we're going to kind of talk about if there's any rain chances that will slow you down or drench whatever it is you're trying to buy. Mark, you better get on that, big guy. Come on.
I'm not kidding. I really do have some things I need to get done. So WDRB News at 10, WDRB News at 11. We appreciate you guys joining us on our Facebook Live tonight. I'll see you at 10. He sees you at 11. And if we have any action tomorrow, of course, we would be live. So I'll see you guys a little